I don't purport to know more about ball than Nick Saban at all. And he has experience in the pros and in college, but I don't think that's the number one killer of quarterbacks. I think it's things like O-line and coaching. And it's so on brand for Nick Saban to not to put it on like media than what it is coaching. But if your quarterback can overcome an intangible, which is just people expect him to be good, that doesn't come from a bad place. That's not coming from a hateful place. That's not even adversity. Like people are hoping that this guy can do it because they have faith in him. That is such a nonsensical take for me, but all respect to the greatest. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's coaching and it's O-line, like tangible things that affect young quarterbacks. I thought David Carr was going to be really good, and he got behind one of the worst O-lines in pro football history, and it totally ruined him.
I think that Nick Saban probably would agree with you, but he is probably doing a thing because there's cameras on and he's making a profound point that's going to be on television. I think, but based on his history as a head coach, he obviously put a lot into the other position groups in his team recruiting wise. It wasn't just about getting a quarterback.
I think I'm already gearing up to be annoyed by Nick Saban's takes because I know his agenda with all of it.
What's
I know
his agenda?
He's anti-NIL. If you saw when he spoke.
Real heel turn there.
Yeah, he wants things to go back to when the network protected him, the good old boy network. When he just had all these advantages that he may or may not have known of. Like that's the thing over there. Like there's a whole system to keep things separate from the head coach back in the day that he was really excelling. So I'm not alleging anything there, but I don't think he's doing things in good faith, and I'm pretty clear of his agenda. And he's going to be, him along with Bill Belichick, are going to be the most visible and most vocal of these new people in the media sphere. And I think that we should apply a fair amount of scrutiny in trying to figure out where they're coming from.
Are you saying that Nick Saban has a Coach Pete Bell happy situation going on where they got all the shit going on and he doesn't know about it?
Look, I appreciate having all-time greats in the media space that we didn't have before. These are new, they're breathing new life into especially football media, which I think was in desperate need of some new blood. Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. You're going to the very tippy top of the industry. Yes. Like these are all-time GOATs. Those are three guys that are you have consensus. Those are the greatest to ever do it. And they're fresh from the game. It's not like they've just been sitting around from on the couch and are detached. But I am a little concerned at how much weight their voices in particular are going to carry. And in Nick Saban's case, how much it carries with politicians that are actually going to be voting on legislation and potentially giving the NCAA safe harbor status. They don't know these players that come in. Like you bring the Cavender twins in there to speak to them, that's all fine and dandy. They know Nick Saban. So what he says matters. And when he says something that I don't necessarily agree with, I get bummed out because there isn't anyone out there with the same exact weight that can counterbalance that.
Do we think Brady or Belichick or Saban or whoever is going to be doing games is going to try to out Tony Romo with calling what's next? Because Brady's obviously seen it all, done it all. Belichick the same thing. Are they going to be like, yeah, watch the slant here from the X receiver and watch him go over the top?
You know what's crazy, Tony, is that part of it is Romo does that, but part of it is he sounds like he's so happy.
He's electric.
Right. But this is Romo year one. Like he's a different dude now. He doesn't do the predictive analysis all that much. He's a little bit further away from the game.
Right.
And he also doesn't sound as happy.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is when you're in it, when you're in it, those scouting reports are still fresh.
Yeah.
We're doing a bit that I don't know.
I don't know, Jim.
You just say Jim.
I
don't know.
You just say Jim.
No, I enjoyed Jim.
I think that's missed out on it. Like
it's the same thing.
When Romo first got going, there was a novelty in someone being that close to the game that those scouting reports are still fresh in his mind. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, especially when you read the reports out there, that he's not like actively studying and network execs had to talk to him about his preparation. I do think that was a huge part of why Romo was so electric at the start. But for Tom Brady, I kind of just want to hear his stories. Like if something's happening in a game that reminds him of something, because who has the who has a wealth of knowledge at that position that Tom Brady has. He will mention a game and a situation that you'll remember because Tom Brady was always playing in primetime games and games that were super important and Super Bowls. So I would just love to hear the Tom Brady nostalgia tour for the first couple of years.
It's kind of like the Sean McVay thing where he can go back to a certain play on a drive on a game. Like, all right, game 6 against Washington, we did X, Y, and Z, and we played this. Like, maybe Brady has that kind of recall. But to Tony Romo, when he first started, I remember one of the games that really stood out was Pats Chiefs when Brady beat Mahomes, went to the
AFC
Super Bowl.
Championship.
Yeah, where he's like,
was
watch Gronk on a seam here because the safety's doing this and the corner's doing that. Linebacker's not going to pay attention to him. And it exactly happened. It was a monster play. I think they got a first down, like a 3rd and 15 or something, and Romo called it exactly. And we're like, holy shit, this guy's really good.
Yeah, that was one of the singular greatest moments for a color broadcaster. That AFC Championship game. As soon as you started going, I was like, AFC Championship game at Kansas City. He was so locked in, but he was so close to the game. And hopefully, I think Romo made some improvements over the course of last year.
Do you think he thinks about that call? Like years later now, he's like, man, remember that time when man.
That's why he doesn't study.
I was cooking. I had it going.
He has a weird legacy in that word association. He wasn't even a starting quarterback, but most people remember like the botched snap in that playoff game, and that's usually where my mind goes. But now it's Tony Romo, the broadcaster, and it's specifically that AFC Championship game with bad lighting. and Mahomes never getting to touch the ball there, and just how locked in Tony Romo was. I do kind of miss that, but I am excited for what Tom Brady's going to bring. I don't know if he's going to be good in the ways of predictive analysis. And for year one, I don't really care. For year one, I just want the novelty of having the greatest of all time out there.
I hope he's like LeBron in that you could tell LeBron, hey, do you remember this play that J.R. Smith had? Like, oh, yeah, it was the third quarter. We're playing at the Knicks, and we were up. You know, like, LeBron can recite to you the situation, the score, who was on the floor, all those things. I hope Tom Brady has that going because I want to hear, like you, I want to hear stories. I don't care as much, like, oh, calling it is cool as a novelty. But even if you keep getting it right, it's not as cool as telling me, man, there's one time we went into the locker room and I told Gronk, you better da-da-da-da-da. Like, those are the stories that we all feed off of.
Yeah, if the Cowboys are down big on Thanksgiving, and he's going to tell you about the Falcons Super Bowl and things that he saw out there, and it's just he's not been the most media-friendly guy. So I know he has his show with Jim Gray, but to have him go into detail on the biggest broadcast of the week, which is always that late afternoon game on Sundays, like, that's pretty cool.
Or someone's chewing out a teammate on the sideline, and he could tell us, man, that video, remember that one that went viral of me yelling at so-and-so? This is actually what happened. Yeah. This is what I was upset about.
Or if a tight end kills somebody.
Yeah.
My life as I know it is about to drastically change forever. And the reason I say that, as many of you know, I'm going to be a father coming up in December to a baby girl, and it's crazy, and I can't believe it. And a lot of my life is going to change, but there's one thing in my life that's going to be constant. And since 1975, this original light beer has been a constant, a mainstay for the entire planet. And it's going to continue to be a mainstay for me. It's Miller Lite. They keep it simple, undebatable quality, great taste, only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. It's a light beer that actually tastes like beer. You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling, and it tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. I will when my daughter's born with a tall, cold glass of Miller Lite. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer. Our partners over at DraftKings just released their biggest best ball tournament ever. You can have your shot at the crown too right now. Enter the best ball $15 million contest and get your second entry absolutely free. That's right. Score a second $20 best ball ticket after you draft your first $20 entry for a shot at a share of $15 million in prizes. All you got to do is draft your team, and that's it. No roster management, no hassle, no free agents. Longer draft, you make it happen, and download the DraftKings app right now and sign up using promo code DAN. That's DAN. The crown is yours.